Hi, I'm Dave. It's only been a week and Joe Biden's Chinese tariff policy is already crumbling exactly as I predicted, and it's likely to disintegrate still further in the very near future. Dave Takes It On has a look at what's happening and what might happen. Well, tariffs are, at best, a very, very short-term measure to try and get you over a particular problem. They're not meant as a long-term solution. If it's a long-term solution, that's called protectionism, and that definitely doesn't work, not in a global economy and business that we have at the moment. So, what was Joe Biden hoping to achieve? Well, Biden, I don't do a lot of politics, but Biden is funded by the UAW, the Union of Auto Workers in America. He gets all his funding from there. That's why he never mentions Tesla or Elon by name and always favours people like Mary Barra and Ford Motors, who are heavily unionised. Anyway, to try and protect union jobs from a flood of cheap Chinese EVs coming into America, he's now decided to put a 100% tariff on cheap Chinese imports. And the idea behind it is people will buy American-made cars. Unfortunately, he can't actually promote the most American-made car, an EV, which is a Tesla, because they are non-unionised and therefore not in his good books. So you have a situation where the Americans are now faced with not being told about Tesla, but being told about Ford and General Motors, who make, well, let's face it, rubbish cars. Last year, both of them hit just over 70,000 cars for the whole year. That's actually less than Tesla missed one of its targets by for a quarter. Anyway, that's another matter. But just recently, there have been two major changes. The first of these was it was reported that Ford and General Motors each have a model, and these are not EVs, these are petrol cars, and these are made entirely in China. America has done a deal with a Chinese manufacturer. They specify them. The Chinese manufacturer makes them. Ford and General Motors ship them in really cheap and then sell them as Ford cars. And the Ford buying public and the General Motor buying public often have absolutely no idea this is going on. We in the industry have known this for a long time. But when Biden announced 100% tariff on Chinese imports, he very quickly had to backpedal and say, well, these aren't EVs, so these aren't affected. So Ford and General Motors, my buddies who have the UAW membership, they're absolutely fine for them to keep on importing these cheap Chinese cars. They're not EVs. So they got over that one, I suppose, in one way, but very quickly it was revealed that BMW, who now make the Mini, and obviously other BMWs, have been exporting cars to America from Europe, where they're made, or making them in America. They have factories over there as well, and they've been using for some time components that they buy off China. Now, in Europe, it's quite okay to buy off China. There's a load of joint ventures and mergers going on in Europe, so it's okay. But now it looks like America's getting a bit upset that Mini EVs and BMW EVs are coming into America with Chinese parts. And this now gives another dilemma. Are they going to be banned or having a 100% tariff imposed on Minis and BMWs? It will almost certainly apply to Mercedes and Renault, whatever other cars are being shipped over there or made over there. You can guarantee they will have been buying off the cheaper sources. So there's a second backpedaling now. Oh, no, we can't ban or not ban, but we can't impose 100% tariffs on Mercedes or BMWs or Minis. They're popular cars over here. So we're going to have to give them dispensation. So all of a sudden, this policy of 100% tariffs, it's starting to fall apart. Then, of course, what's going to happen is BYD or Xpeng or NIO will be opening up very soon in Mexico. And Mexico is specifically included for manufacturing parts, components and cars, which qualify for the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, subsidies and tax breaks. So there's going to be a massive, massive sort out of who is allowed to manufacture in. It's going to start falling apart, has to start falling apart. We live in a global world. There's no one manufacturer who can say, this car is made in America or Britain or Sweden or wherever it is. They're not, because some of the components, for example, take a silly example. If you've got a basic ICE car, petrol or diesel car, you have an engine management system in there, electronic ignition effectively. And a lot of those components are made in, for example, Taiwan. But some of those components that go into the circuits that make up the energy management system or the electronic ignition could well be using chemicals that were dug out of a mine in Democratic Republic of Congo, or were actually manufactured in China and supplied to Taiwan, who don't have a problem buying there, and therefore this car in America or the UK has now got one or two components. It gets so messy, and it's not going anywhere, because all that's going to happen is the rest of the world, China in particular, are just going to say, well, we're not interested in America anymore. Such a mess. And of course, there's a big election coming up. So if Biden is not lucky and successful in getting into power, we know that the one who might or will is very heavily in favour of the oil companies. In fact, he's asking for funding from the oil companies at the moment, with, we assume, promises in the background that if he gets in as the next president, that he will just give them all total tax breaks as a thank you for having funded his campaign, or all his fines and penalties and everything else that he's subject to at the moment. So this tariff thing is not going to last. Europe, meanwhile, is being a bit more pragmatic. They are saying that we don't want to work with China. We don't want to buy off China. We want to protect our own jobs. We have French workers, we have German workers, Italian workers, Spanish workers, and these are actually doing okay at the moment. Not where they want to be. Sales for everything is down this year. But they also recognise that they can't produce really cheap, mass-produced cars that are EVs. They can't do it at the moment. Renault has recently said they're working with a number of Chinese companies so that by 2027 they will have the cost of these EVs down at about half what it is today. So they're just openly admitting that they can't themselves, this is the Fiats and the Opels and the Renaults and the Peugeots and Citroën, they're just openly admitting that at the moment they can't produce the cars cheap enough. So it means they work with the Chinese, and that means they get some practical experience, get some assistance, they get some access to technology that they wouldn't otherwise have, and they will be able to start making these joint venture cars. These have been going on forever. Dacia Spring, for example, is not made in France. So the realistic outcome of all of this is this tariff thing will fall apart in the next few months. America will demand that they want to buy more EVs, but affordable ones, and they don't want to buy the stuff they're being offered at the moment. So we'll see where this one goes, but my prediction again, this will just come to an end. It'll fade out. There's election coming up. People forget he actually made the promise. He's probably already forgotten he made the promise himself. And come November, when someone gets in power there who may or may not know what they're doing, they will come up with a new policy that will almost supersede this. It'll either be ban EVs altogether if one person gets in, or it'll be unionise everything and 500% tariffs if you're not union members. So let's see where this one goes. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Dave.